going to tell you 3 stories the media never showed you. Stories that explain how a broke, evicted kid with exactly $7 in his pocket became the single greatest motivational archetype on the planet. The first story is about the day he discovered that having no way out is a brutal advantage. Most people look at Dwayne Johnson and only see the smile, the six-pack, the blockbusters. They think it's charisma. They think it's genetics. They think it's luck. All of that is mental garbage. I studied every interview, every public failure, every dark morning no one filmed, and what I found has nothing to do with the law of attraction. It has to do with pain engineering, discipline as an addiction, and one decision that goes against everything the gurus sell out there. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you inside those 3 chapters, and if you stay until the end, I'll show you how to take that same mental architecture and apply it to your own life. No fantasy, no excuses. But I'm warning you now, this isn't content for people who want comfort. This is for people who want ground. Picture yourself at 23. Your childhood dream was to play professional football. You grinded, you made it into the University of Miami, you became a national champion, but you were never the star. Even so, you get called up by an NFL team and you're cut before the season even starts. Fine, you try your luck in the Canadian League. You go, you push, but in less than a year they send you packing again. It's over. That day, Dwayne Johnson gathered his things, got into his car, and drove back to Florida. He had no house of his own, no contract, no status. He moved in with his parents in a tiny apartment. When he got there, he reached into his pocket and found a 5 and 2 singles. $7. That was everything he owned in the world. He himself calls it my rock bottom $7. And here is the first mental shift no one tells you about. That moment wasn't the end of his story. It was the birth of the rock's brain. Because when you lose absolutely everything, reputation, identity, plans, something strange happens. The fear disappears. The anxiety of will it work out vanishes. You have nothing left to protect. You become dangerous. That's the paradox of real failure. It makes you light. Dwayne understood this in his bones. He said to himself, I never want to feel that sensation of having zero control over my life again. And he made a radical decision. He was never again going to chase a single fragile dream. He was going to build so many skills that it would become impossible to be discarded again. Look at what he did. With no money, no guarantees, he asked his father, the wrestler Rocky Johnson, to train him in the world of professional wrestling. The problem? His father didn't want to. He said that world was dirty, thankless, and he didn't want to watch his son go through the same humiliation. Dwayne heard the rejection and responded with what? With work. He woke before sunrise, went to his father's junkyard, cleaned the warehouse, organized the equipment, and trained like an animal. No audience, no contract, just him and the will to never again be a washed-up former athlete. Now pause and think. How many times have you confused discomfort with tragedy? The guy had $7 and a borrowed mattress. You probably have a roof, internet, and food. But any little no already makes you want to quit. You were raised to avoid pain. He was forged inside it. That's why one became an icon and the other is scrolling videos at 2 in the morning. What Dwayne discovered there, and what later became the engine of his entire career, is that a lack of options is a shortcut to focus. When you have several elegant exits, your brain negotiates. When you're cornered, it executes. That's the first pillar of the rock code. Turn your greatest failure into your endless source of fuel. Don't bury that memory. Put it in front of you every single day. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. Not tomorrow. Right now, pause the video if you need to. Right at the top, my 7 moment. Describe in 3 lines the situation where you felt the most trapped. It could be a layoff, a betrayal, a no that stung. Below it, write, this is not my sentence, this is my fuel. Tape that sheet to your bedroom wall. That paper is worth more than any motivational Instagram quote. In 1996, Dwayne Johnson finally debuted in the WWE. The character Rocky Maivia was created, but the audience hated it. Boos, chants of "Die, Rocky, die." Instead of giving up, he asked for a break, returned as The Rock, and started cutting promos like no one else. You know why? Because he had already trained for rejection years earlier. He was already calloused. But the real secret wasn't under the spotlight. It was in what happened at 4 in the morning, while everyone was sleeping. Teres, a phrase The Rock himself repeats like a mantra. While you're sleeping, someone is working to take your dream. He doesn't say it just to say it. His routine, documented in dozens of videos, begins before the sun rises. The alarm goes off at 4 a.m. He puts his feet on the floor, brushes his teeth, and heads to the private gym he calls the Iron Paradise. While the world rests, he lifts tons. Then he has breakfast and begins a 12 to 14-hour workday. This isn't a phase preparing for a movie. This has been his life for over 2 decades. Heres, where a lot of people think, oh, Hes paid millions, anyone would do that. You're reading the story backwards. He started that discipline long before the millions. He started it when he was still sleeping on an air mattress and depending on his father for rides. The construction came first. The result came later. You want to know why your motivation lasts 3 days? Because you treat motivation as a feeling. Feeling is volatile garbage. What you feel at 6 in the morning on a rainy Monday is not a basis for anything. The Rock doesn't wake up loving life. He wakes up and executes the protocol, regardless of what he feels. Discipline is not when you're inspired. Discipline is when you're exhausted, discouraged, and you still do it. During the transition to Hollywood, discipline was once again the differentiator. He arrived lean to be an actor, but the roles didn't come. The industry said, you're too big, too ethnic, you're just a wrestler. You know what he did? He didn't try to fit in. He used the same logic: I may not be the most talented actor in the audition, but I will be the most prepared. In his first roles, he would write 30-page backstories for characters who appeared 5 minutes on screen. He studied scripts like he studied opponents in the ring. While the competing actor memorized the lines, he showed up understanding the character's psychology. The result? The director noticed, the producer remembered, and the bar kept rising. He didn't ask for permission to succeed. He kicked the door down with obsessive preparation. The second pillar of the Rock Code master, the boredom of repetition. Anyone shines on day 1, few shine on day 547, with no audience, no like. Whoever masters boredom masters the game. Choose one non-negotiable daily anchor. It could be waking up at 5 a.m., reading for 20 minutes, 30 minutes of exercise, something you will do whether it rains, whether your team loses, whether you slept badly. Mark it on a paper calendar. Every single day you fulfill that anchor. Don't skip 2 days in a row. That chain of X's on paper will give you more dopamine than any notification. This is called identity building. Rocky Johnson, Dwayne's father, was one of the first black wrestling champions. Tough, rigid, he survived a brutal environment in the 70s. When Dwayne was a teenager, the family was evicted. They lost everything. Back then, the boy saw his father cry out of frustration. That giant, an idol in the ring, was broken and humiliated. That was his first big lesson. Titles don't protect anyone. What protects you is the mental foundation you build underneath. Years later, his father became an alcoholic and bitter. Dwayne learned from him what to do, and also what not to do. He understood that you can have a legendary career and still lose yourself in the end. So he created a personal concept, the anchor. You've probably seen the tattoo on his arm. It's an anchor that covers half his chest with various tribal details. The meaning is brutal. No matter the storm, I will not drift. That anchor is not a pretty symbol. It's an operating system. In every crisis, every rejection, every public divorce, every near bankruptcy, he mentally returns to the center. The center is not the money. It's not the fame. It's the question, who am I, when all of this is stripped away? If the answer plunges you into despair, you have no anchor. If you only recognize yourself by your job title, your physique, your relationship, you have no anchor. And any wind will tip you over. The Rock built his anchor on three pillars: work, operational gratitude, and legacy. Work: as long as he can move, he can build. Operational gratitude: it's not the fluffy kind of gratitude, it's waking up and listing three things you are responsible for and honoring them. Legacy: he doesn't want to be remembered for the movies, he wants to be remembered for raising the standard of everyone around him. This becomes clear when he visits hospitals, when he responds to fans in depression with personal videos, when he builds businesses with the same intensity he lifts weights. He understood that purpose is heavier than passion. Purpose wakes you up at 4 a.m. Passion disappears when it hurts. And now the three stories connect. The first showed you that you need a 7 moment of founding pain. The second showed you that without boring repetition, you're just wasted talent. The third showed you that without an internal anchor, you will repeat the failure even after winning. The Rock didn't become an icon because he's charismatic. He became an icon because he mastered these 3 codes of mental engineering, and they are available to anyone. But the question is, are you willing to pay the price that nobody sees? If you made it this far, you know this is not about watching videos. It's about taking action. So leave it here in the comments. In one word, what your anchor will be from now on. Write it down. My anchor is execution. My anchor is patience. Whatever it is. I'll read as many comments as possible and personally reply to some. Do it now. The simple act of writing already programs your brain for commitment. And if you want to take this foundation of the 3 pillars and apply it in a structured way to your week, I've prepared free material that will give you the discipline skeleton the Rock uses, adapted for real life, without you needing to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. The link is in the first pinned comment and in the description. It's a 3-day mini course called The Rock Code. No fluff, no magic formula. If you truly want to stop drifting and start building, go there. It costs nothing. Dwayne Johnson once said, "Success isn't always about greatness. It's about consistency. Consistent hard work gains success. Greatness will come." I'll adapt that for you now. Stop chasing moments of glory. Build a foundation so solid that glory will be forced to find you. You have your 7 moment. You have the ability to master boredom. You just need to decide what your anchor will be. See you in the next video. Until then, put in the work that your future self deserves.